Welcome to Story Construction Safety Orientation. My name is Nick Markey and I'm the Safety Development Coordinator here at Story Construction. In this video, we'll discuss some of the rules and requirements that must be followed while working on a Story construction job site. Our production vision here at Story is that every crew on every Story construction project continuously executes its assigned work flawlessly to meet daily production target without incident or defect. In 1970, the Occupational Safety and Health Act was put into law. The Act set out to assure safe and healthful working conditions for working men and women by authorizing enforcement standards developed under the Act. The Act also states that both employers and employees must follow the rules and regulations that have been established. Although OSHA sets the minimum health and safety requirements that must be followed, Story Construction sets higher standards. In order to be successful on a Story job site, you should also set your standards and goals in such a way that they exceed those of Story Construction. Remember, it's not only your right, but your responsibility to stop any unsafe acts or practices at work. While working on a Story job site, an improved hard hat that is in good working condition must be worn. What we mean by good working condition is that it does not have any damage that would render it defective and that is not expired. Another piece of PPE that must be worn at all times while working on one of Story's job sites is safety glasses. Remember, your safety glasses have to have side shields and they must meet ANSI Z87.1 requirements. On Story construction job sites, no shorts, tank tops, or tennis shoes are permitted. Proper work shoes must be worn and some sites will require that your shoes have a safety toe. Long pants and a shirt with sleeves are also required. So at this point, you have learned that proper safety shoes, proper clothing, safety glasses, and a hard hat are required at all times while working on a Story construction job site. While performing certain tasks, using tools, or while working in noisy areas, hearing protection may be required. Hearing protection will be made readily available for all Story employees. If you're ever working in an area that seems uncomfortably loud and there's no postings for hearing protection, let someone know and we will come to the site and perform a decibel reading on the area. At Story Construction, fall protection must be worn at all times while working at unprotected heights of 6 feet and above. Please make sure that your fall protection and equipment is in good working condition and that it is being worn correctly while in use. Fall protection is critical. In 2 seconds, a body in free fall can travel 64 feet. What this means is that you'll have no time to react and no time to catch yourself. So it's important to make sure you're wearing proper fall protection while working at heights. Exposure to silica is something that should be taken very seriously. Story Construction adheres to OSHA Table 1 when there is exposure to silica dust. When possible, it's best to look for engineering controls. This would be something like a vacuum system or using tools that have a water system attachment. In any case, please make sure to wear the proper PPE when working with or around silica. When working with cranes, there are a few important things to remember. Make sure that tag lines and load lines are used and that the swing race is protected. Also, when there are power lines around you, assume that they are energized and keep your crane boom at least 20 feet away. Your work area must also be controlled with protection such as barricades, and nobody should be working underneath a suspended load. Many people will find themselves working in an open excavation frequently. So here are some key things to keep in mind. Always make sure underground utilities are located prior to digging. Means of access and egress must be available every 25 feet, and tools and equipment must be kept at least 2 feet from the edge. At your job site, fire extinguishers will be placed throughout the work area. Many will be located in stands like the one shown here. If you ever have to use a fire extinguisher, make sure to remember the acronym PASS. Pull the pin, aim the nozzle, squeeze the lever, and sweep from side to side. The best way to prevent fires from happening is to not have any open burning on the job site. Sometimes hot work will be required for a task. If that becomes the case, a hot work permit can be obtained from the Story Construction superintendent on site. If you're unsure how to fill out a hot work permit or you're not sure what work would require a hot work permit, pause the video and have a Story Construction rep answer your question. Hazardous communication and safety data sheets are to be kept by the contractor. Working in a confined space presents a multitude of hazards, which is why it's extremely important to follow all procedures. The confined space procedures set by OSHA can be found in Standard 1926-1201 through 1926-1213. Sometimes when doing work involving remodeling or demolition, you might come across material you would suspect to be asbestos. Do not try to remove it. It needs to be tested by a third party, so get a hold of your supervisor. Asbestos can be difficult to identify, but loose fill asbestos is the most dangerous because of its concentration and its ability to become airborne even when it's barely disturbed. First aid kits and sharps containers will be located in the work trailer. If you ever have to use a sharps container for needles, make sure to place the needle in the sharps container immediately after use and close the lid. Most importantly, if you're ever injured, no matter how minor, report it to your supervisor. If a guard is present on a tool or piece of equipment, it must not be removed. As stated under 1926 300B2, the exposures listed within the standard must be guarded if they are exposed to contact with employees or otherwise create a hazard. Again, please do not remove any guard from any tool or piece of equipment. To follow lockout tagout guidelines, after equipment or circuits that are to be worked on are de-energized, a lock and tag must be placed on all points of the equipment that may be re-energized. On construction sites, the majority of the time you will need to use a GFCI when plugging into outlets. However, there are some exceptions which are listed here. Both boom lifts and scissor lifts are used extensively on job sites. However, there are a couple differences. A boom lift uses telescopic boom, while a scissor lift will only extend vertically. For a boom lift, only an authorized user will be allowed to operate one. While operating a boom lift, a harness must be worn and have a lanyard attached to the basket. Also, the rails and toe boards are not to be climbed on for any reason, nor can planks or ladders be used in the basket. Make sure the access gate is closed before use. On a scissor lift, as with aerial lifts, users must not climb or sit on the rails or toe boards, nor can planks or ladders be used in the basket. The chain on the scissor lift must be closed before use. When operating fork trucks or skid loaders, seat belts must be worn. Make sure the equipment is being used in an appropriate manner. On top of everything we've already covered, there's some additional information you should be aware of. When working in an occupied building, resident and staff safety is to be considered a top priority. Housekeeping is expected to play a part in every work task. You should only have food and drink in designated areas. And radios and other electronic distractions are not allowed on story construction job sites, including headphones. You should only park in your site's designated contractor parking area, and emergency procedures for fire and extreme weather are job site specific. They should be located in your site's emergency action plan. Report all accidents and injuries immediately to your supervisor, no matter how minor they are. And most importantly, harassment will not be tolerated and it is grounds for removal. Other things to remember are that practicing proper lifting techniques can prevent back injuries. And if you do not feel comfortable performing a task, talk to your supervisor and request training. If you ever have any safety questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out to myself or Joe Hewitt, our safety compliance coordinator here at Story Construction. Your personal commitment to safety is required on a story construction project. So if you see something, please say something. This orientation is good for 1 calendar year on all story construction job sites, and you'll need to be refreshed annually. The project superintendent will go over any job site specific items with you. We appreciate you taking the time to go through this orientation. Please sign the required acknowledgement form and get your orientation hard hat sticker from the job site superintendent.